Hello creatures! Today we are doing a forgotten book haul. I do mean forgotten, it's kind of impressive. I bought an entire bag of books from my local secondhand shop 2 years ago and managed to forget that I ever got them. They've never left this bag.
Color-coded just to keep me sane. My world is finally starting.
If you are new here, my name is Maddie. I am a freelance editor and fantasy writer, and I try to post videos twice a week. I am currently accepting manuscripts for the summer and the late spring, so if you're interested, my Instagram and my website are linked below. But this book haul that I magically forgotten, I lived in Japan a few years ago, and I've been back for almost 2 years, but I had this adjustment period whenever I moved back. It's a little bit of a blur. I just was reacquainting myself to my lifestyle, basically. And in that period, my favorite secondhand bookstore had their annual clearance clean-out sale where they sell all of their books in their warehouse for $2 or less. It is amazing. I love that they do that. They do keep most of the really good books in the store, but they do have some nice finds. So I do distinctly have the memory of finding some things I really liked and then finding some things that, I might not be very interested in, but for $2 I was definitely willing to buy and add to my collection. I don't have super high hopes for this book haul. I remember it being like a bag of hidden gems, and I don't actually know if that's true or not because it's been 2 years. So without further ado, I'm going to start taking them out of the bag. I know I spent like $20 including getting this huge bag that I brought them home in, so I know that there's probably somewhere around 10 books in here. So the first one is called Fool Me Once. I'll let you know if I recognize any of these titles, but there's a good chance that I don't. I don't recognize this one or the author. The back says, since taking over the White Magic 5 and Dime, Alanis Malachlin has been tracking down customers and making amends for her mother's con jobs. I'll probably mispronounce 50% or more of the names, probably more. So when Marcia, one of her shop's loyal clients, comes looking for a way out of her abusive marriage, Alanis does everything she can to help. But lending a hand leads to unforeseen circumstances, including the murder of Marcia's husband. Now Alanis is using her wills to undo a mess of her own making. Her growing mastery of the tarot might help her find the truth, if the killer doesn't get to her first. That's kind of interesting. The front says, cozy readers with a taste for humor will welcome this hilarious series. So it's sort of like the back reads like a thriller, but the front says that it is humorous. And there is the fool in the front, so I guess that is like a good cue that it is maybe satirical? I don't know, it's a nice little book. It has about 300 pages, a little bit more than that, 317 pages. But yeah, this isn't like something I'm throwing up at the top of my next TBR, but it definitely might be something that I read next time I'm just looking around my house for something I have on hand. So the next book, I'm actually really excited about this. It is Dangerous Deception, and I know my light sort of makes it a little bit hard to see some of the covers, but this is part of the Beautiful Creatures series, and I totally forgot this existed. I haven't read it. I think it's from Ridley's point of view. I'm not 100% sure. The back said there are 3 kinds of girls: good girls, bad girls, and Ridley Duquesne's. So it is from her point of view. So the Beautiful Creatures is a 4-book series. Highly recommend them. I haven't read them in years, but to be honest, they were probably some of my favorite books in high school. I remember being so immersed. This one is, again, a small book. The Beautiful Creatures series in general is pretty long, but this was an edition that was made afterwards because she was definitely a favorite character. So I'm really excited to add this to my shelf, especially because I have the hardbacks of the Beautiful Creatures, so this will match perfectly. And they were selling it for $3 before the sale. That's crazy. I love this company. I'm pretty sure it's local just to my area, but it's called Half Price Books. If you live in an area near Half Price Books, they're an amazing store. They do keep a lot of new releases and bestsellers in their store now, like nice hardback versions that they sell for the full $20, but they have a lot of $2 to $7 books in their store, so I really like to go there. You can find a lot of great things in secondhand bookshops. And these books, so far, they're in pretty good condition. This one here that I just pulled out, it's called Ruined. The edges of this book here, there's a small section that is dog-eared. I have a feeling that might be from the bag that I kept them in. I hate that I might have done that. I doubt I would have gotten it if it was damaged, but I very well might have. But yeah, for the most part, the books are like in really good condition. Occasionally you'll get some rounded edges or some dog-eared pages. I have before seen some writing there inside books, but generally if they find stuff with writing in them, they actually just recycle them instead. So this book is by Paula Morris. It is a scholastic book, which makes me think that it's probably middle grade. It's called Ruined, a novel. The back is kind of hard to read, like the color and the font. It said, Rebecca couldn't feel more out of place in New Orleans, where she comes to spend the year while her dad is traveling. She's staying in a creepy old house with her Aunt Claudia, who reads tarot cards for a living. And at the snooty prep school, a pack of filthy rich girls treat Rebecca like she's invisible. So it's definitely full of cliches, I will say that. It probably is for like a younger crowd. Only gorgeous available Aunt in Grey seems to give Rebecca the time of day, but she wonders if he's got a hidden agenda. I have a feeling that I'll have a lot of deja vu whenever I do read this. It is short and sweet. I will say that this is definitely something that I picked up just because it was $2. There might be a chance that I'm feeling like reminiscing with some of the older tropes, and that might be why I grabbed it. Right now in my current mood, it does sound like it is going to be a little bit cheesy, but that scholastic tag really, it makes me be a little bit more gentle on it. It might just be a good addition to have in my library. We will see. So the next book, I'm just going to blindly reach in and pull something out. The Devouring, Your Body is Here But Not Your Soul by Simon Halt. I will say the words on the back are really hard to read because they have this like vapor effect. It is really cool, but really hard to read. This book was $1. It says, the vowels, evil demonic beings that inhabit human bodies on sorry night, the darkest hours of the winter solstice. When dark creeps in and eats the light, bury your fears on sorry night. For in the winter's blackest hours comes the feasting of the vours. But no one can see it, the life they stole. Your body is here, but not your soul. That's kind of dramatic. This says in the back, comparable to books by R.L. Stine and Stephen King. That sort of cracks me up because I find R.L. Stine and Stephen King to be on totally different spectrums of like the horror genre. Stephen King's like I didn't want to have to think about that, but I thought about that. Now I'm going to be staying up all night freaking out about it. And R.L. Stine's like a cozy kind of thriller genre in my mind. So that's a pretty wide range to fit. This is kind of interesting. I don't know why it would be marked as $1. Maybe because it's a little bit older. Yes, it's from 2008. That might be the case. Unfortunately, when books get older, you know, they sell less and less and less. So I bought this 2019. So it just might have been out of the market at the time. It's definitely probably the younger side of YA as well. You know, before the market had a whole shift following Sarah J. Maas to accommodate an older crowd. The next book is in Japanese. Oh, this is amazing. It's Ouran High School Host Club, the anime and the manga, if you're familiar with it in English. This is the Japanese volume 1. I had no idea they even had this. Another thing I like about my secondhand bookstore is occasionally you can find foreign language stuff. They do have a foreign language section, but normally it's not like volume 1. This is volume 1. So they do trade-ins for money. So people drop off old books and they give them a little bit of cash. So usually when people are like cleaning out a house, they drop off things there. But I have been wanting to collect more manga in Japanese. I was just thinking that. I have Devil's Line Volume 1 that I bought in Japan that I'm thinking about ordering like later volumes for, just to study and read and to have for fun. Usually they have like an obscure manga that was published in the 90s, only volumes 5, 6, and 7, so they're usually pretty random, but volume 1 things are a great find, and Ouran High School Host Club is something I'm super familiar with, so I love this. This is definitely a keeper. It was marked for $2. So reaching around a little bit more, I actually found 2 more Japanese manga. I love that. I totally forgot. Like, now that I'm pulling them out, I do remember looking at, like, their Japanese table, and they had a pretty long Japanese table, and finding a couple of things. I also have a volume 5 of Ouran, which makes sense. The 1 and the 5 are kind of far apart, but, you know, I could always accumulate the stuff in the middle. This is also $2. And then this one here, I am not familiar with at all. It's called Bokunshi no Kasehu-san, and I am not familiar with the title or the characters or the franchise, but it does look like a one-shot, meaning it's just like a singular book. It doesn't have like a volume number or anything. And this band here shows me that it was purchased or imported from Japan, because this is how they really market their stuff. They have these on most manga or most books, I want to say. Maybe not most, but these are really common types of advertisement or attention grabbers. Instead of having a sticker on the front that says New York Times bestseller, they have like bands like these, or like check the TV show out. Here they put those circles printed on the cover, or they put stickers on the cover. In Japan they do these bands. And this book is in really good condition. It looks like the spine was never cracked. Japanese manga also, if you were not familiar with it, they have covers, sort of like how our books have covers. The insides, I will say, are almost always ugly. Like, I mean, it's not horrible, but like when I take a dust jacket off of a book here, I know the book's going to be pretty and classy and I'm going to love it. A lot of Japanese books have dust jackets and the inside of them are usually a pretty bland pattern. Japanese books are a great find, and I doubt the rest of the box is going to be able to live up to this. We will see. I am definitely more impressed than I thought I would be. I thought I was going to be pulling out 10 super off-the-wall random books that I probably wouldn't like reading but bought anyway. So I only have 2 books left. This one is called The Eternal Kiss, 13 Tales of Blood and Desire, featuring Libba Bray, Rachel Kane, Melissa De La Cruz, and more. Oh, edited by Trisha Talep. So that's why this looked familiar. I have one of this editor's anthologies sitting at my desk. It's called Kiss Me Deadly, and it's probably 13 tales of paranormal love, and I just remember being very invested in the anthology. I really liked it. I really enjoyed reading it. I don't know if whenever I got this that I knew, like I put 2 and 2 together. I mean, I stare at it like every day now, but like the books that I put on the floating shelves at my desk now, I did that last year. I didn't have those up last year, so I might not have even known that it was the same cover. They do have very similar cover art. I'm actually going to go get it. I'm going to show you. So this is my copy of Kiss Me Deadly. It is definitely worn at the corners with love, and I noticed I have a bookmark in here still, but I also have a post-it note with words that I wrote down that I didn't know before I read the book. I did that a lot in high school. I wrote down words that I encountered that I didn't know so that I can either use them in writing or look them up later. And you know, now I'm a book editor, so that makes total sense. I did check the copyright pages before I sat back down because this one actually has some really good and really well-known authors in it. So I thought, you know, like, she published this one and then it got really popular and she did this one, but this actually came out a year beforehand. Not that these authors are bad, they're just people that I wouldn't necessarily recommend like right off the bat. So Sarah Reese Brennan, Becca Fitzpatrick, Caitlin Kitteridge. I loved this book. I've read it several times. But this book has Kelly Armstrong, which I own probably like 9 of her books, and I was really a huge fan in high school. Holly Black, which is a big name now because of The Cruel Prince. Libba Bray, Sarah Reese Brennan again, Rachel Kane, Cecilia Castellucci, I'm probably saying that wrong, I'm sorry. Cassandra Clare. So like there are just, I feel like, names in this book that came first that are really big names. I am sorry to whoever Trisha Talep is, but I'm totally unfamiliar with her platform outside of these books, which I love. But from the people she works with, I assume she must be like a big deal as an editor. I don't know. I'm going to look more into that. I'm super interested. I feel like I have a nice set now. I don't like how they're different. I mean, they're not like bad different, but they don't look like they match. Like you can tell like the way the title is and her name is and the logo that they're supposed to be similar, but they're different colors, they have different fonts, they have different sizes, but they are also different genres. This one here is paranormal love and this one here is like a vampire story book. So maybe that's why they're a little bit different, but this makes me want to see if she has other anthologies in other categories. So I'm definitely going to be exploring that probably right after the end of this video. I have one book left. Let's see what it is. The Evil Librarian. It says hysterical, smart, and funny with a little drama, a little romance, and just a touch of evil. And that was quoted by Stephanie Meyer. And I am not familiar with the name or the title, but I do like what's going on. This book was marked for $3, but the whole sale was $2 or less. So I got it for $2. And it says, when Cynthia's best friend Annie falls head over heels for the new high school librarian, Cyn can totally understand why. He's really young and seriously hot and apparently thinks Annie would make an excellent library monitor. But almost immediately, Sin starts to sense that something about Mr. Gabriel isn't quite right. Maybe it's the creepy look in the librarian's literally mesmerizing eyes, or the weird feeling Sin gets whenever she's around him, or the blood in the horns and the giant bat-like wings that appears when he thinks nobody is looking. Before long, Sin realizes that Mr. Gabriel is in fact a demon. Now, in addition to saving her beloved school musical Sweeney Todd from technical disaster and avoiding making a complete fool of herself with her own hopeless crush, who happens to be the one and only other person who knows the truth about Mr. Gabriel, Sin has to save her best friend from the attractive yet very, very bad clutches of the evil librarian, who has not only bewitched Annie but also seems to be slowly sucking the life force out of the entire student body. That's like a wild ride. Like, at the first part, it was like super serious, super interesting, kind of new and fresh. Then it got super cliche, then it got new again, and then it got cliche again at the end. But I am definitely interesting. There's like a fuzz on this probably because it's been in a bag for 2 years. But yeah, I like the formatting of it. It's just nice to look at. I'm gonna pull the dust jacket off. The Japanese books made me want to do that. It's all red and it just says Evil Librarian, so nothing super fancy. I will say this one has like sticker goo on the front, but to the point where like it already has like dust or something stuck to it, so I probably won't be able to get it off. I definitely will be trying later, but it is another short and sweet book, and I can't believe that. They're all kind of short, except for the anthology is probably the biggest one, and honestly it's not that big. It's still like the lower side of fantasy, I think. I have had this realization lately where I have this goal to read 50 books this year, which is a lot whenever you have 2 jobs and you're writing a book and you have a YouTube channel and stuff. And I am a few books behind, not because I don't read, because I read nearly every day, but the last couple of books that I've read have been huge. They have been like 600 to 800 pages, or like the audiobook I'm listening to now is like 18 hours long. But I was just telling somebody that I need to go to the store and I need to pick up some short books so that I can meet my goal a little bit easier. Like I wanna keep reading and I want it to be fantasy and I want it to be interesting, but if I don't incorporate some shorter books at least, then I'm never going to make it to 50 books by the end of the year. So this was actually a huge help. I accidentally set myself up for my reading goals 2 years in the future. So thank you, past me. I appreciate the presents. I appreciate the Japanese manga probably the most, but my favorite 2 finds were definitely the Dangerous Deceptions, because that completes a series for me. It's also in great condition and it matches. And then my Trisha Talep that I just totally fangirled over. That's probably like my second favorite. If not, they're both tied for favorite. And thank you for watching. Before you go, like this video and comment down below what the last good hidden gem you read was. I feel like some of the best books that I've read have been books that I just walked into a bookstore and found and was interested in. They weren't necessarily recommendations. I didn't see them on Instagram. I just picked them up and I was in the mood to read them and I love them. So let me know when the last time you had that experience with in a book down below.